define how these two teams will interact with each other.
Absolutely, as we do jump on into the draft right here. Once again, last time we're going to see either of these two teams in the placements for at least the group stage, although we might end up seeing EDG, if they manage to secure that third place, trying to get themselves out of that group nirvana, get into the Ascend. Looks like it's going to be the first pick once again of the Skarner. Now this is the second game in a row where we're going to see what EDG can do up against it. They had the Lilia for themselves last time. That was banned away by BLG. They were clearly watching the previous series.
Yeah, and EDG, hopefully they're able to just shrug off the previous game as much as possible, and particularly for On, I'm hoping that there's no mental block in terms of, oh man, I got completely screwed over by the Skarner Impale, because now you're going to have to try and overcome spacing that particular skill shot. And EDG, at least, they're going to give the Ambessa another try for ZDZ. Maybe he'll have a chance to play a little bit better. But I like the Zyra pickup because ways that you can deal with Skarner trying to brute force a way into your backline, you can at least slow down the fight with the Stranglethorns.
Yeah, and I think that the Zyra also gives you a lot of priority earlier on in the game than we actually got to see out of the Lilia. The Lilia really needed to get into the later stages to ramp up. The Zyra can do a lot earlier on into this game. BLG, though, they've already got themselves some decent early game power. Also with this Nico too. Now, this could be for On or for Knight. We've seen it be moved around quite a lot at the moment. I've seen it in the support role a lot more recently. I would expect it to be On's. He's not played it so far in this split, but we know that he can and do very well on it. And alongside Elk on this Kalista, that's a power bot lane that can really just change up the landscape of the bot side of the map. I'm not surprised that On right here just decides to go towards the Ezreal. You don't want to scrap in this bot lane. Get yourself either a nice enchanter to pair up for Wink, or I think more likely go for a pretty heavy engage support and just leave. Abandon On, say that, hey, you're going to be fine by yourself, I'm going to go play elsewhere.
I mean, that is what gave EDG a little bit of their success in some of the earlier group stage games in the first time we saw them on the day just a few days ago. Giving On something like the Ezreal, as you called out, and then Wink can at least try and snowball ZDZ's Ambessa, because in the previous game against WE, ZDZ didn't get that much attention from anyone on the map, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily what is the backbreaker, but if you at least snowball and make your Ambessa ahead of the item curve, that's how you can try and create those disparities in the skirmishes that EDG are favored to try and take. But I'm just so concerned about a Kalista Nico lane pretty much getting a free pass and giving way unlimited priority on the bottom side of the map.
And you know how well a Skarner can dive too. That's a bot lane that can push dives through. So many tools to be able to survive those ones. In terms of the support still available, a lot of the good engage ones are up. It is going to be the Rel right here. Wink has been a good Rel so far. This has been one of the better champions we've seen from him. It isn't necessarily going to have a great time in this individual lane matchup, although you can try for an all-in potentially earlier on, maybe be able to pick up a couple of kills. The Ezreal can sometimes do a surprising amount of damage. Now, this is what I'm very much interested in. What is Knight actually going to play? Because he's been an Aurora merchant recently. He's just been on it constantly. Obviously, taken off the board right here by EDG. And we're not going to find out quite yet. It's going to be Bin taking this Jax right now, and that's one of the champions that can really take it to the Ambessa. Ambessa in a lot of these matchups is a bit of a bully. You really can't play it out as aggressively as you would like. You're more trying to go even and then play it better in the team fights. Not the case right here with this Jax. You can go in so easily.
Yeah, I mean, just champion strengths aside, this is Bin's Jax. I mean, this is a champion that Bin has really, truly shocked, impressed, and terrified, all in the same stroke of that giant lamppost on the world stage in multiple games. So, BLG, it feels like they're really bringing their quintessential best champions to the fray. They're not taking it easy on an EDG squad who just lost a heartbreaker against WE. They don't care if BLG are the favorites ones to win. They are going to drive home that victory. They are not going to give any chances because they do not want to forfeit any chances for a tie at first seed. They want to make sure and remind the rest of the world. They want to let the rest of the league know that they should be the ones on top. That they were a two-time LPL champion for a reason.
Yeah.
As EDG rounds off their composition with Angel's Rise.
He'll die.
Yeah.
And I mean, these compositions, right? BLG, they've got themselves the sort of composition that's going to be playing early, that wants to be getting aggressive in that first couple of items and really push yourself forwards in that way. But then again, kind of so do EDG. Their composition does scale decently well, but the Rise ulti is the thing I think I'm going to be very much looking towards. How are you going to use that to the absolute greatest of effect? Because I feel like in the previous game, Angel had a pretty quiet one overall. Wasn't particularly showing up, for me at least, as like, oh yeah, this is where we're looking towards, and is being once again relegated to these more supportive kind of carries. Was on the Galio previously, now on the Rise. What can he actually do to be able to help his team out?
Yeah, because in the previous game, playing the Galio, you are trying to jump to the aid and bailing out teammates with that hero's entrance. Rise, not necessarily the most parallel, you know, like just straight on comparison in how the Realm Warp works, but it's all about side lane play. It's all about trying to create opportunities where you can collapse and rotate faster than your lane counterpart. And on something like an Ahri for Knight, he'll try to go for lane dominance, but he can just as easily roam towards that bottom side of the map and just get that Kalista snowball rolling. As we hit the Rift Bloxer, 30 seconds in, BLG doesn't seem like they're trying to go for proactive wards, and EDG are ready to defend the top side of the map.
They are, got multiple members around in this area. We're definitely expecting some kind of shenanigans. Not actually going to happen. BLG right here, more than happy to just set people up in standard positions. Go and start off a standard laning phase. It's going to be really interesting to see where these junglers are going to be starting, where they particularly want to head around. I think bot lane, super gankable potentially. Same kind of thing with top side though. Sway actually potentially looking for a late invade. Just going to grab a little bit of extra vision and is going to be able to spot out where Xiaohao is.
Yeah. They know that Xiaohao wants to get these plants starting to spawn so that he can set up that really super fast clear that the Zyra jungle really became known for once she was introduced to the meta. Thank you, Riot, for giving her plants insane monster damage. As now Zyra, even through some of the nerfs, she still rocks one of the fastest clear speeds in the entire game. I mean, just imagine before the nerfs, like this champion was able to hit level 4 before top laners and solo laners were hitting level 3. It's just like ridiculous speeds.
And we saw in the previous game that Xiaohao, again, on one of the fastest clearers in the game, Lilia, was able to just speed through the jungle. Oh, hang on!
Wow, Wink with the aggressive flash on the On immediately gets, I guess it was a heal out of On in exchange. No ignite popped. And you know what? It's Hex Flash, so, you know, burning that flash isn't necessarily, like, you know, the biggest thing in the world. Definitely looked exciting, I guess.
It did. It looked like it was going to be a bit fun. Everybody just going to back off in the end, as, yeah, as much as bottom lane is going to be fun, and I expect it to continue being a bit explosive, especially as these junglers move down, top lane is very much going to be where it's at. Bin, solo kill, merchant in a lot of situations, can just wreck opposing top laners, and blind picking the Ambessa when you know that your opponent can play the Jax, always very risky. Now, there is a chance that ZZZ can fight this one back. It's not a complete domination of a matchup for the Jax, but it's Bin's Jax, as you highlighted, so I'm going to keep my eyes top lane a lot of the time, right? See how the health bars are doing, because solo kills are very likely.
Yeah. Wing prepping a Hex Flash. Gonna go through the minion wave. Good ward by BLG's bot lane. Will spot out that Xiaohao was trying to loop around for an early gank, trying to make use of that fast clear speed, but fortunately for BLG, Wei is just as fast on the Skarner. Wink throws the ward down, spots out the Scorpion. And at least for EDG, they have priority, so they'll help Xiaohao move into the river first. That should guarantee. Oh no, Wink got slammed into the wall. Not enough distance for BLG to actually close in time to punish. We're still tense here on the Rift. Oh my god, On actually got mega chunked here. The Q, threatening Elk, forced to flash away. Didn't want to just look for the cleanse because he just wanted to get out of damage range for the rest of EDG.
And despite the fact that we've had quite a lot of pressure being put down by these junglers, by everybody in these lanes, our actual kill's going to go down in the first couple of minutes of this one. Pretty standard overall. Looks like it's just going to be resets coming through out of these junglers, and they're going to be back out onto the map. We've got 40 seconds until the first Drake spawns. Not particularly expecting anybody to go rushing straight for that one. I think the grubs are going to be a little bit more of the priority right here. If you could pick up the grubs right now on BLG, that unlocks Bin to sit in these side lanes and just melt through towers. And if he gets himself a bit of an advantage, there isn't going to be one champion who can just go and deal with him.
Yeah. Late game Jax is a legitimate monster. And then on top of it, Bin Jax. It just feels like an unmovable object. Now, Xiaohao has an opportunity to make Bin's day very sad. Since Wei had just taken a base, is way too far. Bin is going to look for the leap strike onto the ward. Waiting
the
prediction from Xiaohao! But the counter strike isn't enough to deflect the physical damage. Okay! First blood ends up going to ZDZ, but Bin trades one back.
And that doesn't matter anymore. First blood doesn't give you that extra too much. And it's just going to be a nice one out of Bin to be able to at least get it 1-for-1. Still, the prediction right there, really nice. We're seeing quite a lot of those at the moment, actually. And it is good to actually be able to pick yourself up that first kill. He doesn't lose too much. Teleports back into this lane. Loses a couple of caster minions, so not going to be the end of the world right here for Bin. So have a look back at this one. The initial escape out of Bin is pretty nice, exactly as you're expecting, right? Gonna ward hop away, and then just flashes out of this one. Doesn't flash in this straight line, but the prediction of Xiaohao is exactly what's needed. ZDZ, though, unfortunately, just isn't able to get that final auto attack off that he needed and falls to the tower.
And just crucial for Bin to sneak in one grass clock to give him the extra bit of sustain to survive off of the initial flash burst damage that ZDZ was going for to just immediately exit stage right away from the turret. But ends up being a 1-for-1. Xiaohao now trying to see if he can repay a visit towards the bottom side where Elk still down to flash on this Kalista. Could be exposed. Wink. Flash back available. But because Xiaohao shows himself on the bottom side, it's easy enough for Wei to just go for the first round of grubs uncontested.
Xiaohao spent an inordinate amount of time down in this bottom side of the map, and it hasn't really led to anything yet. I mean, getting a decent little bit of damage off, but there's nothing you can really do here to actually pick up the kills, I don't think. Does at least open up the priority towards the dragon, but you can see BLG, they're not going to give this one up without a bit of a fight. Wei Knight, they are also in the area. It's only going to be a Chemtech Dragon, nothing too much exciting about it. Still, would be nice for either of these teams to be able to pick up.
Yeah, if you want a Dragon stack, you definitely feel better about it if you can get it rolling earlier than later. Not really a easy opportunity has opened up for either team to go for it since the bot lane has been such a hot spot as, On tries to push in the minion wave. Overstays his welcome, forced to flash away from the grasping roots on Xiaohao. Looking for another one, the Stranglethorn, that's a lot of damage. Fate's Call, does it save him from the Ignite?
He does.
Oh my god! That's crazy.
That's about as close as it could possibly have been. I thought with the Ignite from Wink that he was definitely going to die right there, but instead, like I said, it's cool, just going to be able to save this Nico. And I love the combo of the Kalista and the Nico. It just works so well. If you could throw the Nico into the backline for a Pop Blossom, absolutely huge, but you can see there as well, can be used defensively. And as much as you don't love missing out on all of these minions as the bottom lane, at least it's not going to waste. It's still going to be picked up right here by Wei. BLG, they are getting pushed around a little bit throughout this early game, but they're not allowing these advantages to really come through for EDG. EDG are never actually able to finish off these plays.
Yeah, and because Xiaohao spent so much time trying to get that bot lane play to happen, he doesn't have the tempo to go for Drake off the back of it, even though they have priority in those two lanes, because there's all these camps that he has to farm on the Zyra. And if he ever sacks time farming, then you're kind of losing the purpose in the battle of what you really want to maximize on this particular champion.
Especially Enter the Skarner, who's so much more about getting involved in these team fights, getting involved in these early skirmishes if possible. Drake continues to see it. This one has just been allowed to survive for a very long time. It doesn't really feel like anybody's particularly looking at it right now. Of course, because of that ulti out of Angel, you can rotate down to this Drake, to this bottom lane play if there's going to be another one. A little bit easier, potentially, and I think that could change things up, right? As much as Ahri is very good on the roam, you're going to be slower than a Ryze in most of these situations.
Yeah. That's why EDG confident in that counter pick for themselves to at least give them the edge and making that collapse happen first on whatever side lane BLG are trying to leverage here. Xiaohao once again showing up.
Ooh.
There's Wink with the engage, knowing that On cannot escape. Oh, but they got closed by the clone. But it's still enough. On cannot escape, and Fate's call just not up in time for Elk to salvage his Nico and EDG. They tried multiple times to get it done, Bloxer, but they finally got it down onto On.
And there's no real response across the rest of the map. Elk, in fact, going to get chased right here, taking a decent chunk of damage. Wink not actually going to be able to jump forwards and get a stun off. So EDG, they're just going to have to settle for getting all of this pressure, getting these tower plates. So much golden experience right here going in the favor of EDG. Wait is around, though.
Be careful about being in range of Impale, especially if he wants to just flash Impale, send it on. I thought for a moment,
He
do
might.
you have Arcane Shift? Surely, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, thankfully he did. And
Without, that would have been terrible.
yeah.
I mean,
like,
that
is a
minimum blown
position.
flash, right?
Yep.
Not the situation that you want to be in. But as we've been talking about, Drake is still available, and now a little bit of a flank right here from Knight. Does he hit the charm? He does hit the charm. It's only on to Wink. Still, they're able to get that kill initially. Teleport coming in. Great ult!
Oh, but Angel gets immediately stacked by the Impale, but Wei is sectioned off for the rest of the team because everyone had to bail. And now a Realm Orb from Angel is going to threaten a multi-man collapse on Pop Blossom. Good way to break open the fight, and On is just too close to Knight and Elk's hands. Angel trades one back. Oh my god, Elk got popped too by Angel's Rise, and somehow EDG are able to equalize.
What a mess of a fight. I really want to see the replay of that one to understand why everybody backed off and abandoned Wei. Because that ulti, straight up, immediately catching onto Angel, felt like it should have been a one-team fight for them immediately. But everybody else backed off, and I'm not entirely sure why. So this initial play, Knight jumps over the wall, is able to pick up the kill onto Wing. What is the threat that everybody sees that means they just run away right here? Ulti? They're worried about Xiaohao and On? Like Xiaohao over the wall?
I think it's just, I guess Elk not wanting to get caught out by Xiaohao's Zyra plants.
They then get chased down, which makes it look so much worse in hindsight, right? That they could have gone in.
Oh, that's a really nice Stranglethorn. It breaks open the group of BLG, but they manage to skirt their way around the zone of threat right there. But they're forced to concede the last scrub. But at least EDG, they're able to deny the 2 Void Might spawn that BLG would have otherwise had, with all 6 scrubs secured for themselves. And once again, Bloxer, we're in a game state where, you know, BLG, their early game isn't the cleanest, and
No.
EDG are at least, you know, being able to match them. I'm just curious at how well EDG are able to actually take a very, very small, minute lead like this and actually break it open against BLG of all teams.
Oh!
As this, I mean,
Okay,
great dive
that's
on
good.
On. 2-man Impale. Oh, boy. I mean, that's the power of Skarner right there. You cannot disrespect it like that, especially if you're down summoner spells. Good night, Angel. And Wink getting caught up in the fray like that. BLG able to fight on back in this 12-minute banger.
That's the thing, despite the fact that you do have yourself that minute lead for EDG, as you said, the kills have just started to come through for BLG. The first item's only just about on the horizon right here for Elk. Knight's only just completed his first, and so you're just not in that strongest position. This is a 2-item composition. Once they have that, they're going to be so strong right now. Bin! Ooh. I thought he was just about going to be able to get that last auto attack off. Isn't able to do so. CC actually does still have the ulti available, so he needs to run.
Was that the Nico
That's the
float?
Nico.
I've never heard that sound before.
You haven't?
No.
Everybody in my games is spamming it all the time because it's so funny. But we'll have a look back at this one. Like I said, Angel just kind of steps up way too far in that situation. I'm actually not sure why he did that. Was that a tap out? Genuinely, why did he walk up like that? Thank you very much to the Observer for highlighting that. That's insane. That's...
Yeah.
Huh? Okay,
Man's
fair
just
enough.
walked in with the NOS button and said, "Yeah, let me stunt on you for a quick second." Oh wait, you're Skarner. That's right. I don't have flash. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I've made a bad decision here.
I mean, that play on a highly mobile assassin is weird, right? That play on Rise? Okay. Either way, we're going to have a look top lane. Angel right now, once again, going to be the focus here of BLG.
Off Blossom on a flashless Rise. Pretty darn easy to pull off, and even before the teleport comes through from ZDZ, BLG immediately walk away. No harm, no foul. And those are the types of punishes that a top team like BLG will never, ever waste.
No, exactly. You cannot give them an inch. They will take it every single time, and so much more. See, once again, ZZ kind of trying to push right here on tonight, but just isn't stronger in this situation, and the map continues to crumble right here for EDG. BLG, hang on, Knight. I don't know that you can kill this.
Yeah, that's ulti for ulti trade. I guess CDZ was hoping that Knight would get very, very bold and go into the fog where Xiaohao was waiting to pounce, but sure. Didn't work, but I guess I can respect the attempt if that is genuinely what they were going for. They at least forced the teleport out of Knight, so that is a summoner spell down plus the Spirit Rush. Maybe EDG can now try and look for a map play. Rift Herald is coming up in the next 35 seconds. There's not a dragon for another 3.5, so we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, after we finally got that first dragon taken very, very late on that one. Like you said, with the Herald up, going to be another big thing to try play around. Angel forced to ulti right here just to go back towards his tower. That's rough. That's so rough, because as the rest of your team right now are beginning to push around this Herald, getting involved in this mid lane, you don't want to be using that ulti pre-team fight just for yourself. That hurts so bad.
Yeah, I mean, Angel didn't want to have to burn the flash in Bin's face, knowing that Bin, even though he was down a flash, based on ZDZ's own flash timer that we saw just a couple minutes ago, that is one of the tools that you want to have as EDG to make those collapses faster than BLG can react. But they now have the safety and the intel saying, hey, there's not really a way that EDG can stop us on this Rift Herald play now.
Exactly, and it means that the Rift Herald is going to be picked up right here by BLG. They've taken out the outer towers in both the top and the bottom lane, so this one's going to be destined for the mid lane. If you can crack that one open too, it's going to make these subsequent fights around the Drake and Baron pits so much easier as well. Open up the enemy jungle too to try start stealing things away. Like you said, you really don't want to fall behind in terms of the farm on this Zyra. Well, that could well start happening if the jungle just gets taken constantly. BLG, they really do know how to play around a lead. It was surprising that they ended up losing that game up against Weibo. Weibo, though, overall, a much more solid team than EDG. And EDG right now, they're really struggling to find their ways into these fights.
Yeah, and BLG are just relentless with the pressure when it comes to map play. On, just forcing the pop Watson to make sure that EDG cannot step up and defend the tier 1 from falling. The Impale snags Angel, still's got a flash, and the phase rush movement speed allows him to speed away from danger. BLG getting exactly what they came for in that tier 1 siege, and they walk away without EDG being able to punish.
The best that they can do right now is pick up this top lane tier 1. It's something, it's a little bit of an injection of gold, but this game very much in the favor of BLG. A little bit of a dive right there onto Knight, takes a little chunk of damage, but still this mid lane tower is very healthy. So now waiting about a minute now until we're going to see the Drake spawning up. This one being a mountain does mean it's going to be pretty attractive to go for. I do like this ulti, at least right there out of Xiaohao, to try to slow things down. This Impale, he walks into it. Like, he fully walks into it right there, does Angel. Like you said, the face rush means he's fast enough to get away. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. The tower was what BLG came for, and it's what they get as their prize.
And Dragon is spawning in the next 40 seconds here. BLG not quite on the map to contest the push in the mid lane and match EDG going into the river, since they are the ones starting to really surmount that vision control on the vision line. Not quite into the red quadrant of BLG, but they'll have the freedom to push that line if they want to, since Angel is already getting the first push on the bottom side of the map as well. I'm not sure if BLG are going to actually contest them here. Bin has teleport. Knight is here as well. Maybe they'll just wait for EDG to go on the river first, and they'll feel bold enough to challenge.
Yeah, I I mean, it's one way for them to try to play this one out. Right now, the vision is pretty spread. There's a couple of good flank wards here for EDG if they potentially want to go for it. We've seen ZZ loves to get into the back line, try to get a public execution from behind. Makes their team fights a little bit easier for EDG. Not sure if he's going to be able to pull one of those out. Does have the teleport available, but the Drake is going to be taken right here by BLG. Xiaohao is in the area. He can try for the steal, but I think it's just going way too fast.
I'm curious what they're waiting for, since it
didn't invitation.
I guess On was pushed in the mid lane, so there was no way that he was going to join the fight. So EDG definitely not hoping for an actual fight around the pit, but I guess maybe they were hoping that BLG was going to make a careless mistake rotating through the tri-bush, and then boom, you just look for a pick. Because there was nothing else that they could have actually played for, and all the camps that are now starting to spawn for Xiaohao.
They have done a very good job, have BLG, of just making it so EDG, they've got no good decisions right now. Still though, Atakan going to be spawning up right here. At the moment, BLG, they've just been able to come out on top of pretty much every single one of these situations. They're stronger overall. You can see 2 items now completed on both Elk and Knight, so they're in an incredibly strong position to be able to run these team fights. I gotta be honest, a little bit disappointed. I've not seen the bin pop off that we've really been looking for, other than, you know, getting a kill in the 2v1.
Don't worry.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, I think it's coming, because you gotta remember that Jax is not a champion that, like, starts wrecking the game off of just a Trinity Force. And, you know, the Sunder Sky does make it a little more unbearable to deal with in the side lane. But I'm telling you, if Ben is given one more item, then that is where I will throw down the Gamba. That is where I'll put my money where my mouth is at, you know?
Oh, yeah. And that will be coming on pretty soon, as Wink actually might just die here. Oh, just about gets away. That was a lot of damage. That's what we were talking about, right? Elk, 2 items completed. Well, that's where the Kalista wants to be. Such a very strong position at this point. Atakan is up and available. Xiaohao knows that someone's in this bush. I don't know if he knows how many someone's are in the bush. Yeah, just going to check with the plant. Definitely the right decision there to not step up himself. Blind checking that bush would have resulted in his demise, and the Atakan going over to BLG pretty much completely for free.
Yeah. You know something I just realized? Elk is actually going, like, has a lethality Kalista build. I have not seen Kalista build lethality in quite some time. There was, like, that one phase, I don't know if it was last year in particular, maybe it was 2023, where they were foregoing the attack speed build and just going for the raw, you know, like lethality pure burst output. So I was definitely a little surprised when it was only like a few spears into Wink, and then suddenly yoink, massive rend, and it was just like, that's a lot of damage. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! On!
Yeah, just gonna get caught out right there, and that's gonna make this Atakan play that much easier. No ADC available for EDG. You've really got run of the map right here as BLG. They don't even need to go towards Atakan if they don't particularly think that they need it. Right now it looks like they're going to be a little bit more spread. They do use a couple of big ultis in that play, so not in the easiest spot to be able to make a subsequent fight happen. Still, EDG, they are overstepping, I think.
Yeah, they don't have any business stepping up like that. Oh, I thought Ben was about to land the flash counter strike. Yep. He was winding up that lamppost, but EDG just barely out of range, and I think Ben doesn't want to have to force the flash if it doesn't necessarily put them in a major fighting position. Oh, he had just used Arcane Shift, and I guess he just doesn't want to flash.
Nope, and I particularly love this play right here out of On, over the wall with the Pop Blossom, just ensuring that there's no way you could be able to survive that one. Taking out the ADC actually doesn't result in the Atakan as we expected it would do. Nothing too much came from it overall. So it's another kill, and it's just going to be putting the fear of Skarner into Arn right here. He cannot step up without his Arcane Shift. If you don't have Arcane Shift available to you, even with Flash, you kind of need both of those tools at the moment to really be able to survive the pick potential that this BLG composition has.
Yeah. Angel trying to set up priority on this top side, the match against Knight, so that they can always keep tabs on this Atakan. It's no longer an objective that you just want to start immediately ripping to force the enemy team to come through. You want to have a decent advantage. Xiaohao might be compromised here, getting stunned up, flashing away from, but the Impale still lands true. Stranglethorn gets a decent amount of damage, but the Pop Blossom from On should seal the deal for EDG's fate. ZDZ TP'd in, but now has to slice and dice himself back to safety. Elk now on the forefront trying to chase after On's Ezreal, and Bin trying to flash forward and land that killing blow. Not going to be quite the death stroke for EDG to fall, but it is enough pressure for them to retreat back into the safety of their quadrant.
And they're going to now head on towards the Atachan, at least a couple of low health bars, making this not the easiest one to pick up if there was going to be a response from EDG, but junglerless means there's no real point. Instead, EDG, they're going to make the right decision here, just head straight down towards this Drake. So if they can pick this one up, at least put themselves on 2-1 in terms of that objective. The BLG, another team fight engagement where EDG, they think they found the angle, but there's just so much AoE CC that's able to be put down. On specifically just completely wrecks the team fight for EDG. And yeah, just again and again, EDG, they try for something and BLG counter.
Yeah, take a look back at the replay, because you can see that Xiaohao immediately he realizes my position is compromised here.
Yep. He still gets caught with the Impale. As much as the Stranglethorns does something on right here, the 3-man Pop Blossom is beautiful to just make sure the EDG have to scatter to the 4 corners. Bin, he does at least try to go for the flash play here, doesn't actually manage to land it, but still, the team's going to be very happy with this one. They're only up by 3,000 gold. It's not an insurmountable lead. For EDG, they just haven't been able to find any of these team fights.
You know, Bloxer, if Ben had a fully finished 3rd item, he lands that Counter-Strike flash. he makes the play happen.
He does. This is true. Hey, we will keep an eye on it, right? We will keep watching to see once he's fully ready to go in, because for the minute, he's got himself a Seeker's Arm card. Clearly wants to jump in, and then Golden doesn't particularly feel comfortable. Yep. Oh, on!
Oh, on! Massive Pop Blossom Flash combined with the Proto Belt. The Stranglethorns will slow down the fight for now, but here comes Bin, ready to turn up the heat. ZDZ onto the backline, trying to make sure that Elk doesn't get to play the game, but it's ZDZ whose time has run out, and it's game over for him. Bin pops the stasis just to make sure that EDG can't get that last sliver of damage, and BLG don't drop a single man.
No, despite the fact they've got low health bars coming out of that fight, a gorgeous engage right there from On just scatters EDG, and they all get caught right where they needed to be. The damage is insane. The combo from BLG is brilliant. And this one feels like an MVP performance out of On. Those ultis have been gorgeous the whole way through.
Yeah, and it continues to add on to a redemption split that desperately was needed out of the support for BLG. Someone that has been representing LPL on the world stage now for quite a bit of time in the past couple of years for the LPL, being with this squad to the very end of a World Finals against T1 before coming up short in Game 5. Out of Split 1, BLG showing a lot of inconsistencies in their play. On was a major person that we looked at a lot, but in this Nico performance, the Alistar games we've seen, the Renata games have been so beautiful.
Charm just missed. If Knight hits that one, he's able to start that team fight, I think. Instead, everybody's just going to go reset, spend a little bit more gold. I mean, Knight right now, 17 stacks on that Medjay's, is in such a strong position. Like you said, we've got the lethality Elk build right here. Collector now completed, so he's going to be ripping through people. We'll watch this one again. Here we go, On Flash Pop Blossom, the beautiful cinematic version of it. Genuinely, the Pop Blossom is my favorite ability in the entire game, because it's just so fun. It's a better wombo combo than I think anything else in the game. You can see it right here. Just the ability to start the team fight. ZDZ, he even gets into the backline and it doesn't matter. Already his friends are gone and he was soon to follow.
Now BLG looking to try and pin down a couple of members. Wow! Nicely done by Wink to stop way in his tracks before the Ishtal impact can at least brute force one of them out of the realm warp. Guarantees the safety and the escape of both of those members. BLG still have a Baron buff for the next minute and 40 seconds, so they can do some major damage on these structures here. Around 6,000 gold advantage for themselves makes it so that EDG very, very difficult for them to fight back. And
Oh no!
No!
Oh no. Doesn't feel like EDG have put it together for themselves really at all. I think we saw it much more in the in the WE game because, you know, that one was much closer, of course, so it really felt like they just couldn't get anything done. But in this situation, versus a team as good as BLG, it's really obvious, as we are going to jump back onto the Rift. It was only a short pause, hopefully it was just, you know, quickly done. Nothing that's going to happen again.
Oh we're praying for, and Bin, hang on. Wait. 3-item Bin has come online. He might be in trouble, but just a quick leap strike away. Still in turret range. Uh-oh, Bin forced the flash. Oh, Xiaohao really wants it. Bin is walking back forward for it. Gets the grass proc and the spine.
Wait, he gets the kill! What?
Oh my god, okay. He trades 1 for 1. He makes it worth it. And on the Pop Blossom, so awesome as always. EDG just crumbling under the pressure of BLG. Losing out on the Zyra. Knight flying forward with the flash. Gets rooted down by Angel, but still avoids the overload on the back end of it. Inhibitor falls and BLG get what they came for.
Yeah, they managed to crack the base open right here. It's not quite the Bin play that I'd been hoping for, the 1 for 1, but he just realizes all of a sudden, I'm not walking away from this one. And Xiaohao just feels way too much pressure, you have to imagine, needing to get that kill, flashing forwards, flashing towards a Jax, very rarely a good idea, and despite the fact that most of that fight takes place underneath a tier 3 tower, still ends up coming out on top for BLG. You can see at the beginning here, Bin, he has to golden, otherwise the public execution would have killed him there, but it's the flash forwards here out of Xiaohao that I'm questioning, right? I get why you think you can maybe finish this kill, but the leap strikes back up and now you're in a terrible spot.
Massive heal from both Grasp and Sundered Sky.
Oh, hang on.
Gives them that.
Look at live.
Oh, live, what's happening? Looks like On caught out by On.
Dies.
If I'm looking at that correctly, that's going to create another 5-on-4 for BLG trying to push in through the top side of the map.
Yeah, to be fair, right now BLG haven't really been able to sort their waves out. They've been pushing in the bottom lane, so that wave is going to come through eventually. Right now they're content to be stealing away as much of the jungle as possible. We've got 2 minutes until the next Baron is going to be spawning. Again, going to be a very big target for both of these teams. BLG, they've just been coming out on top of these fights so often. Have a look back because we did miss this one. Is this just a Fnatic Deathbrush type situation? Yep, should not have stepped near that bush alone. And Knight, if you take a look in his inventory right now, that is a 25 stack Medjais and a death cap on this Ahri. Knight going to be hitting like an absolute truck at the moment. It really makes it so tricky for EDG to be able to step up, because anytime you do, doesn't even need to be hitting the charms at this point, just constantly throwing out the Q is going to be enough to poke down EDG, make it so they think twice about going in.
Knight has been a quiet yet relentless assassin in this game. The KDA hasn't necessarily been the most flashy, but he has been decisive and he has been quick on the picks whenever he finds his opportunity.
Bin flank.
On once again, Pop Blossom right into the backline, and as you called it, Bloxer, the bin flank slays the smackdown with the lamppost, and instantaneously 3 members from EDG's squad are ripped to shreds. Angel left alone, pops the stasis. They've got a ramping turret for at least a 3rd unofficial man for EDG in this dive, but it's not gonna be enough. It doesn't matter. ZDZ just falling by the wayside, and that turret just did not do enough, unfortunately, for EDG. 21-7, 64,000 to 54,000. This was a BLG statement win, put it in the books. They're gonna match Weibo Gaming in the game score, and BLG close out against EDG.
And this has some big standings implications right here. This should mean that BLG are the top team, either because Weibo lose in the next round or because they had slightly quicker games. Congratulations to BLG right there. For EDG though, losing again, oh, it puts them in such a risky spot. You do not want to go straight down to Group Nirvana. You don't want the risk that you don't get to play again until next year. And that is what is on the line for these teams. BLG, it wasn't as convincing as it could have been, but On had just a crazy game. Those Pop Blossoms the whole way through were gorgeous.
God, that is a S-tier Nico support game. if I've ever seen one. And if you're trying to pick up Nico's support, just go look through that game. See how On picks and chooses his moments, the way he strings through the combo buttons and using the Proto Bell to pretty much extend the effective range of his engage plus the flash, especially if you're a casual player who've never looked at Nico used in support before, as it's not necessarily the most common support pick in the meta. Usually it is paired with something like the Kalista, because if the Nico goes a little too far forward, she is very squishy. But yeah, at least you got that. Yep, the Fate's Call, you can get bailed out fairly quickly.
And it also works so well if you ever want to get a little bit of extra range. Nico Flash into ulti is cool, but Fate Sealed can do the same sort of thing. It's a great combo, and we got to see it in a great way in this game. But honestly, everybody from BLG felt like they had a pretty good one. Bin was quiet until the very end of this game, where he finds that massive flank, and the fact that that last fight happens underneath that tower for a long time. I know you said it didn't do enough. I felt like the tower did the most damage of anybody in that team fight, right?
The EDG tower might have been the best performing member in that particular fight.
I think that it was, you know, it was the one that was able to actually pick up that final kill right there. And it just, I mean, EDG, it's obviously not over. This is the last time we're going to see them in these placements. It is possible that they're going to still be the 3rd seed and get those last couple of chances to try push themselves up into that group ascend. But also equally possible that our next matchup completely changes things. When we came into today, it felt like this group was very settled. You know, BLG definitely the top team. Weibo easily going to be number 2. And EDG, well, they're better than WE, right? Surely they're better than WE. All of a sudden, this has been thrown into question in a big way.
Yeah. I'm actually curious for us here on the LPL unofficial English broadcast, if we go tiebreakers for the 3rd seed match, do they actually play a tiebreaker game? And if so, do we see it today at the end of, you know, all 6 games, or in this case, after this next BO1 between WE and Weibo Gaming, assuming Weibo wins it as the expected favorite. Obviously, there's a chance that WE wins it, and then, you know, we don't even need the tiebreaker in both scenarios, because then BLG advances 5-1 in game score, Weibo at 4-2, and WE would be 2-4 to end the group stage.
Damn, the damage very well split, you know? The fact that you're not actually doing that much more damage than your support as this lethality Kalista would be a bit of a question mark if it wasn't on just popping off right here on this Nico, just able to do so much for the team. And you can see specifically the kill participation was just everywhere. Xiaohao, though, 100% kill participation, was all over this game, was trying really hard to actually get his team into a good spot right here, and at least in the early stages of the game, EDG were able to find themselves some plays. They were able to fight back, but it just started going worse and worse for them. The way that BLG play the map, the macro that they have, is just so much stronger.
Yeah. I am currently in investigation mode, Bloxer.
I know they were talking about game time earlier. I'm just game time?
Yeah, well, so apparently my investigation through social media has given me intel that like game time does determine tiebreakers, but however, we're still supposedly getting a tiebreaker game, and the game time just gives you side selection. So if you have the shorter game time, you get to choose whether you want blue side or red side. That is what it seems like. I could be wrong. So that's what I'm trying to lock down that intel for all our viewers by scouring some close contacts on the interwebs.
I would prefer games than game time. Game time is one of my least favorite ways to determine like tiebreakers, because if you draft yourself a late game team and you play your late game team composition perfectly,
sucks to suck,
I guess. Yeah, early game teams only in this situation. And not my favorite. A tiebreaker would be fun, and the fact that we could potentially end up with 2 tiebreaker matches to end up this day is crazy, right? These teams have seemed way closer today than they did previously. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. We'll talk about it a little bit more once we're really breaking down the next matchup that we've seen, but WE had pretty much no good moments for themselves during the first round robin. I was looking for good clips from them. It was really hard. There was very little that they were actually able to do. In this second round robin, WE have actually been able to play way better. Obviously, they were able to pick themselves up a win. BLG, they've proven themselves to be fallible. It's so much closer in Group A right now than it could otherwise have been.
Yeah. Well, Bloxer, POG submissions, who do you cast your vote for?
I mean, I feel like it's a very easy dub right here. Surely, it's got to be On. Those ultis were way too cool. Everybody else played well. Like, I don't know that Knight actually died. Elk was laying down the hammer. Bin had that good flank, and Wei was pretty good in the early game for actually getting the team going. There were some great ultis too. But On, every single ulti was perfect. Every single ulti was able to catch onto multiple key members, and it meant that there was just no way for EDG to play these team fights.
Ooh, interessante. Knight, 5-0-12 on the Ahri, I guess, is what wins the hearts of the LPL broadcast for
Hard
player
disagree.
of the game. You know, I agree with you, Bloxer, because it definitely seems like if you're making the pop blossoms happen, like that is what like makes the team fights. That's what makes the advantages for BLG.
You see a common theme right here? You see a common theme in these replays. Knight gets all these kills off the back of a great pop blossom, off the back of On starting the fight out, you know? Supports matter, alright? And in this game, On was so good. But fine, Knight did also play it out very well. I will concede that saying that Knight didn't deserve MVP in his own way would be wrong, because this was a great Ahri performance. The Ahri can be pretty tricky to play out in these team fights. It can feel like it isn't just able to do enough damage. That was not the case right here, and this catch right here that just evaporated the Ezreal was really nice.